From the streets of Cincinnati, welcome to the jungle! Let's go. Stripes, 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 yeah. Stripes, 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 yeah. Stripes, 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 yeah. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite in our Cincinnati, we gon' rise in in the jungle we unite in dripping orange and black and white. Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Wake up the beast, every end day is a feast. Time to bust it off the leash. In the jungle dripping heat, tigers strike the city streets. East side stand up, west side stand up. If you reppin' who day, time to put your hands up. Bingo stripes, we in it. New day, new age, yeah, we get it. Cincinnati jungle fit it. Who day in our house, we win it. Orange and black and white, we build it. Earn our stripes, you know we kill it. Bleed our colors, jungle dripping. Nasty, natty, yeah, we lit it. Lit the crowd, get the city loud. Yeah, we feasting now. Fit the pounce, make the city howl. Now we beastin' now. Thunder through the tunnel, from the sideline to the huddle. Stripes we tatted on the jungle when we flex that who they muscle on them. Stripes, Cincinnati, we gon' rise in in the jungle we unite in dripping orange and black and white. All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Stripes. Now who wanna move crossing on? Stripes. Now who wanna move on? If you got stripes, then you let the city know you rock 'em. Yeah, we got 'em. Yeah, we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em. Bingo bottle, never stop it. To the beast of beast and know who they rockin' with the diamond stripes. Flossin' on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite in Cincinnati, we gon' rise in the jungle we unite in dripping orange and black and white. All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who wanna move on? All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of Jackpot Joey Burrow and the AFC North champion Cincinnati Bengals. Now, do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. You guys are awesome. I'm up to 1,654 subscribers. That is amazing. I made a huge jump this weekend. I appreciate every single one of you guys. That is awesome. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my show and you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, go to the YouTube channel, Sports with Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button, hit the bell for the notification. And every time I go live, you'll be notified. And also, exclusively in the YouTube chat crew, we are doing super chats. So if you like to make sure your comment gets read or just want to support what I'm doing, please give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. And always, I'm coming to you live from the Ice Cave. And the Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, I hope you liked the video I did earlier today. We did a lot of AFC North talk. I had Intergrad on the show. He's a big Ravens fan. He's got a great channel over there. Make sure you guys go check him out. Now we got to get some talk from a Browns fan. But there's no Browns fans around here, so I got to go across the pond, as always, to my main man, Shaun. He's from the Full 10 Yards podcast. Shaun, what's going on, brother?
Oh, good, my man. How are you? Long time no speak.
Exactly. Good to see you. Good to see you. How's everything across the pond? Everything doing good over there?
Yeah, we're not doing too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Yeah, weather could improve, but it is what it is for April. So yeah, looking forward to talking some football, mate.
Exactly. Like I said, I don't know what the weather is like there, but it's still cold here. And I keep saying this: if it's going to be cold, and we don't have any football, I don't want it. I want warm weather. I want to get some football back. If it's going to be cold. But like I said, I had integrated on the show earlier today. We were doing some AFC North talk. You know, Ratbird style, Raven style. I called him the Ravens when he was on the show. I call the Clowns the Browns when you're on the show. So what is your thoughts with the AFC North, with what the Browns have done? I know Deshaun Watson, I know we got all the off the field stuff. I'm not even asking that, but just as far as just on the field football, what's your thoughts on the Browns moving forward this year?
If we're talking purely football, let's face it, they've massively improved the most important position on the field. If you look at it from a purely talent perspective, and it's difficult to do that in this situation, but obviously if we just base it on that, he's legitimately in the conversation as one of the top 5 quarterbacks, potentially in the league. It was never something I thought the Browns would even go for. Never
Right.
something that was on the radar. I think the last time we spoke, it was the last game of the regular season. I was pretty convinced Baker Mayfield was going to get the shoulder fixed. He was going to come back, and we were going to see where we ended up. But I mean, when it broke, really surprised, then kind of relieved when it was like the Browns are out of it, because it's like it's a whole situation we don't need to deal with.
Right.
And then 24 hours later to get that he's actually signed, it was like, whoa. Look, there's lots that leave a bad taste in the mouth. The guaranteed money's huge. The legal stuff is the legal stuff. But look, so purely from a talent perspective, and look, I seriously hope from the legal point of view that, let's hope it goes the right way from Deshaun Watson's point of view. We'll wait and see how that plays out. But certainly from a talent perspective, massively excited, mate. Massively, massively excited. It's a legitimate quarterback for the first time since I've supported the team. He's got a history of elevating those around him, which he's going to have to. We've got probably one premium receiver. The rest, I've got to be honest, you're looking around at the depth chart thinking, who's he actually throwing this ball to?
Right.
So, I mean, but like I say, from a talent perspective, it's huge, 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 huge gamble. But if it pays off, then, like I said, we could be sitting in 3 years' time thinking the Browns got a bargain. And then we'll wait and see.
Yeah, you never know. And the whole thing with Deshaun Watson, just to bring up the legal situation a little bit as far as the season goes, because I think it's kind of interesting that some bet makers have the Browns have better odds to go to the Super Bowl than the Bengals do, and I find that hard because, well, one, I'm a Bengals fan, obviously, but two, you don't know how long Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended for. I'm 99% sure he's going to be suspended 6 games, 12 games, 3 games. I don't know, which it'd be very interesting how Roger Goodell handles this because he's suspended. I cannot remember the guy's name, the guy from the Falcons. He suspended him for a whole year for gambling or betting on his team, a whole year.
Yeah.
And now you have Deshaun Watson. Now, Deshaun Watson, none of these cases have been criminally charged or anything. It's all civil stuff now. So that I think that goes to the variance of it as well there. But it's just going to be interesting of where the suspension is going to, how long the suspension is going to be.
Yeah, and in contrasting reports on that, aren't you? The latest that I've read today is that they think this legal stuff could potentially drag out for another 12 months. And if that is the case, he may not even get suspended this season. Any potential suspension might come next season. Like I say, we've just got no idea at this stage. I think it stands to reason that there will be some suspension, regardless of whether or not there's anything that happens legally. I think there's enough precedent that's been set that, just in terms of the conduct policy, I think it's basically 6 games is what I would be expecting.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at, yeah.
Yeah, I would be expecting 6 games.
That's still a lot.
Oh, yeah. Listen, in an NFL season that's 17 games long, it's a huge, huge suspension, isn't it? I mean, could the Browns go?
I guess that brings me to this point. If Baker's still there, which I'd be shocked if he's still there. But right now, he's your backup quarterback. And if Deshaun's going to get suspended for 6 games, is Baker going to be there for the back? I mean, that's the next thing I wait to see. What are they going to do with Baker? You know, I mean, because it's not like people are banging the doors down to go trade for him.
No, and listen, to be fair, I think the situation with Baker, I would be amazed if he plays another down with everything that's gone on. Look, I don't think they've handled it very well. You know, I think they've done dirty by him. I said several times last year I thought Baker was hurting his value by continuing to play. I didn't think he'd hurt it to the point that literally nobody in the league is coming calling for him. You know, and there seems to be some potential candidates still out there in terms of Seattle, in terms of Carolina. You know, maybe they're looking at the draft, and we'll wait and see whether something happens post-draft. I think the difficult thing really for the Browns is they won't, if they release him, they eat the 18 million. So part of you thinks, well, they might as well keep him on the roster, eat the 18 million, even if he doesn't play for the year, and then get the third round compensatory pick the following year. Everyone's a loser in that situation, as much as, you know, the Browns pay 18 million for nothing other than a third round compensatory pick. Baker loses a year of his career. But, you know, short of something happening post draft, it's gone very, very, very quiet, hasn't it? And yeah, like I say, my impression in January was certainly very wrong. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'll put it this way, Sean. I would be absolutely shocked if he put the Browns uniform on again, because I just don't think a disgruntled Baker is a person that you want to keep on your football team, no matter what. I think it just for that fact alone, I think it'd be worth to get rid of the 18 million. You know.
Yeah, and look, there's the potential that they just do that. You know, they've history of doing the right thing by players previously. If you remember the Odell Beckham situation, you know, they sort of renegotiated his terms to essentially get him released. And I'm sure that something will happen there with Baker. But like I say, it's looking like it's going to be post-draft, isn't it now? So we'll wait and see what happens.
Get the Rob's comment here, and this is some of the delusional Browns fans. He says as soon as the trade was announced, all the delusional Browns fans were saying how they were going to recoup 1 or 2 first-round picks when they traded Baker. He said he was dying laughing, and that kind of goes to your point where Baker hurt his own stock. And I do give Baker credit for playing through all that stuff. I mean, and it's come back to just bite him in the ass, to be honest.
Yeah, and the ironic thing is with all of this is if you turn the clock back, he finished the time moves quick, doesn't it? 2019 season when the Browns got the playoffs.
Yes.
11-4, first playoff win. He was phenomenal second half of that season.
Right.
He started the first 2 games of last year, led the league in completion percentage when the injury happened. If he hadn't played another down from that point onward, there's every chance he would have been signing a long-term contract extension with the Browns based on his previous 10 games. Because the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league, isn't it? What they've unfortunately now got is 12 games of tape where he's playing with one arm, but he's playing, and he's put together a pretty horrible season. There's no doubt he had a pretty horrible season. And ultimately they've decided to move on from him. You know, there'll always be a question of, what could have been. There was certainly glimmers. And look, I've got no hard feelings towards him. He's turned the Browns back into a relevant franchise, which they were completely irrelevant for the previous decade. So he's certainly been the best quarterback that I've seen play there. That is a very low bar. I will give you that, Jeff, before you piling on me there. It's a very, very low bar. But yeah, look, it's they'll move on. I think we're all a bit surprised that they'll say they can't seem to get anything back for him. When you think Carson Wentz went for a first-round pick last year.
Right. That shocked me. I couldn't believe they got a first-round pick for him. I was surprised. Now, this is one I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but Crypt Keeper says he can see Baker going to the Seahawks this year. I don't know, because I'm like, well, I put it this way. Maybe they're waiting to see in the draft if they're able to draft somebody. And I think that might be more when Baker has a chance to get moved, see what quarterbacks are able to draft, or what teams are able to draft a quarterback. You basically got the 3 guys. You got Pickens, you got Willis, and you got Ritter. Those are pretty much the 3 big ones. I know people like the kid from Ole Miss too. So I just throw him in there as your top 4 probably quarterbacks in this year's draft. None of them are Joe Burrow, or none of them are Deshaun Watson. I mean, I love Desmond Ritter. I mean, that's my favorite player for the Bearcats, and I'm going to cry like a little kid if he gets drafted by the Squealers, which it's looking more and more like that might happen. But I just getting back to Baker, I think that might be more of the time when the Browns might have a chance to move him.
Yeah, definitely. Seattle's the one that jumps out at this moment in time. But like you say, that could have happened at any point in the last 2 or 3 weeks if it was going to happen. So I think it's definitely looking like, post draft. And if it doesn't happen post draft, injuries always happen. Roll around to training camp and somebody a starter goes down all of a sudden, and there could well be some movement. It's like I say, it's far from ideal. And like I say, the way that it's all played out, it just leaves a bit of a poor taste in the mouth, really. So it's in everyone's interest that it gets sorted sooner rather than later. That's for sure.
Now, Rob here says the Seahawks are in a tough division, and they have, I'm not going to say that word, I'll say crappy roster and an old head coach. They're better off tanking and getting a new head coach and a new quarterback next season. And I'll put it to you this way. This is, as far as the Bengals goes, this is what I don't want to happen to the Bengals. The Seahawks, they signed Russell Wilson to that big contract, and then they couldn't sign anybody else. That's my fear with the Bengals. And I don't think it's going to happen, but Seahawks not that long ago were, one of the top teams in the NFL. And now, like Rob said, they could be tanking and trying to start all over again. And they're not that far away from being removed from being a division winner and a Super Bowl champion.
Most definitely, mate. And look, there's one team that's booked the trend in the last decade, isn't it? And that's the New England Patriots. Everybody else goes in circles. And ultimately, we're all trying to be the next New England Patriots, aren't we? That have that consistent level of success year after year, playoff run after playoff run. That's what we're all striving for, But obviously, it's a nice problem to have when you've got talent. You certainly want the talent, and obviously, you just hope that the best GMs figure out a way to get it all done, puts the value on the positions that matter the most. And obviously, while you've got the rookies on the rookie deals is where you really want to try and cash in when your rookies are as good as what the Bengals rookies are at the minute. I say rookies, I'm including Burrow in that as much as he's on his rookie deal. He's obviously not a rookie now, but those guys in those first 4 to 5 years of their sort of NFL life, if you can get the premium positions, and you've got that now in Burrow, you've got that now in Jamar Chase, for example, once they're on their second contracts, you're going to be paying each of those guys. Burrow's going to be 40 to 50 million a year. Chase is going to be 25 million a year plus, and all of a sudden you go from what you're paying them now, probably 25 million combined on the rookie deals.
Yeah, you still got T. Higgins in there too. You can't forget about him too. So, I mean,
exactly. You're going to be paying triple what you're paying now just for those three guys, aren't you? So, the next couple of years.
I was going to say Stephon Diggs signed for a $96 million contract extension. I mean, and I'm sorry, but Chase and T, I think, are better than him. Both of them are. So that's where I'm worried that the Bengals will not be able to keep both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I hope they will, but that's why I keep saying our Super Bowl window is right now. You got to go for it and go win it now.
Last time I was on your show, my friend, it was just before the playoffs, and I think my closing words were go and win it now, because you just never, ever know when you're going to be back, do you? You never, ever know when you're going to be back. And like I say, this is a stacked division again this year. Absolutely stacked division again. The Ravens have improved and retooled. They would like to think that they won't have as many injuries to contend with this year as they did last. They seem to be very, very unfortunate on the injury front last year. As we've talked about with the Browns, let's assume for the moment that Watson plays a full season. Like I said, that they've single-handedly transformed the most important position on the field, for the better. And as much as I hate them and you hate them, Pittsburgh will always be there or thereabouts with Mike Tomlin, won't they?
I told me and the integrators was talking about today. I said, no matter what, I said Pittsburgh still has a really good defense. I mean, and they got a really good running back. And if their quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to be in games. I mean, they are. I mean, they're not going to be the juggernaut. And I think the Bengals and possibly the Browns, I think they got to get some more wide receivers, but could put 40. Well, I'll say put 40. Put a high score on them, a high enough score where the Steelers have a hard time keeping up with them because they can't score with them. That's the thing. The only issue I would have with the Squealers is trying to figure out how they're going to score, other than if you get behind.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think look, the ironic thing with Pittsburgh is as stellar as a career as Big Ben has had, his last 2 years, you'd almost argue that they haven't actually dropped off at the quarterback position with Trubisky coming in.
True, true.
And he's certainly not obviously Ben in his prime, but Ben the last 2 years has probably held that offense back. So it'll be interesting to see what Trubisky does with a second opportunity at starting somewhere. But yeah, look, if you were writing down the teams on paper, most people would probably have the Steelers in fourth place, but it's not a fourth place team that you're expecting to be 3-14 or anywhere near the top 10 of the draft come next off season. They're gonna be in and around 500. That's the team that they are. Like you say, Tomlin will have them in games. So yeah, again, like you say, it's the best division in football.
I think it is. Now, I'll get to Rob's comment here. He's talking about the Bengals contracts of how, and this is one that I have liked about what the Bengals have done with the contracts to hopefully prolong this window as long as we can. He said the Bengals can keep getting contracts like they have now with Uwuzie and others. They can reproduce what the Patriots have pulled off along with good drafting. And that's the thing too. And the other thing though, and I keep saying this is, Tom Brady took less money, and I know he took less money because he's married to Giselle, and she's making way more money than he is, so it's a lot easier to do that. Joe Burrow doesn't have that, so I'm hoping jackpot Joey Burrow doesn't just destroy the bank, and go get an Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes contract. Is what I'm hoping and praying.
Yeah, look, and I think the thing is with the Tom Brady situation, like you say, he's probably taken slightly less money throughout his career. He's took a slight discount. He's still obviously been paid very, very handsomely.
It's not he's in a poorhouse or anything.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I think ultimately the best quarterbacks know that their best chance to succeed is with a supporting cast around them, don't they? It's as simple as that. And you can already see some of the repercussions of some of these contracts already. Aaron Rodgers signed his big deal. Devontae Adams doesn't sign a deal. Patrick Mahomes signed his big deal a few years ago. All of a sudden, Tyreek won't be down there anymore when he's throwing those deep bombs. So it does obviously have repercussions, but this is the beauty of the NFL. And this is what I always say to people this side of the pond that don't get into it and can't understand it. And I say to them, it's every team has the same opportunity as each other. It's built on parity for the best part. It's trying to keep it competitive. And that's what you love about it. Every Sunday, everyone's got an equal opportunity. And yeah, like you say, you hope that if you do land on your guy, that he realises the importance of that supporting cast around him. So yeah, fingers crossed that Joey Burrow for you guys will take that discount.
So let's bring it back to, like I said, we're going to discuss the AFC North here. We've kind of done a lot of Bengals and Browns, touched on the Squealers a little bit. And like I said, I had Intergrade on here, on here earlier today. And I was talking with him, and that I think the Ravens are still going to be a pretty good team as long as they stay healthy. Their problem last year is they were not healthy. Now, I told him that, and I said, but we did go in to Baltimore when you were healthy and beat you. So we didn't. The first guy or the second time we played you guys were, the Ravens were very, very injured. The first time they weren't. So I got to toot my own horn there. But it comes down to them being healthy. They're going to be in it just as much as the Bengals or the Browns are going to be.
Most definitely. I think if you look at the Ravens, last year compared to the season before, the running back room was unrecognisable. They went from having Ingram, Dobbins, Gus Edwards. They obviously moved on from Ingram last off season. Then they lost the two guys to injury. So it was big part players playing throughout the course of the season. Lamar almost seemed as though he wanted to try and put more on his shoulders, which isn't necessarily his game. They've built the roster around what he's good at, which is, let's face it, it's running the football. It's Lamar's big passing plays come off broken plays more often than not when he's out scrambling outside of the pocket. And things happen there. He's still got Mark Andrews, and that's a phenomenal connection between those two. And that will still exist, obviously. But I think the key thing, as you say, it's that injuries. They seemingly went through tons of injuries right across the team. And, let's not forget the Ravens were one of the favourites to sort of go all the way to the Super Bowl last year before, a ball was kicked, so to speak. And you don't see any reason why, like I say, that they wouldn't be in the conversation again this year. If you look at the free agency period, their sort of additions and subtractions, probably equal sort of where they were. And then you think, well, you get the guys back from injury. I think they're very well tooled to make another good run out. I think was it Williams the safety? Is it Marcus Williams? Was the safety that they brought in? Is it Marcus Williams
for the Ravens?
Mm.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought he was an excellent pickup. I'm sure it's Marcus Williams. I'll probably correct myself in a minute, but yeah, no, they're again another great side and phenomenally well coached as well. I always give Tomlin a lot of credit, but Harbaugh's is just as good, isn't he? He's been there seemingly forever. Obviously it seems like the Browns go through a head coach every 2 years, and the Ravens and the Steelers just keep trotting back the same guy year after year, and it says an awful lot for the consistency and the standards that those guys produce.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's kind of interesting point you brought up there. That actually all of the teams, except for the Browns, I'm sorry, but all the teams have been consistent with their head coaches. I mean, we had Marv Lewis here for years. Now I've had Zach Taylor for the last 3 years. Steelers had the same coach. Harbaugh's been there forever with Baltimore. So maybe now the Browns will keep Stefanski and we have some of the longest tenured coaches, and I think that goes to a lot with saying helps with stability in your organization and the same mindset and the same outlook, or where you're trying to get your team to.
Most definitely, and it's something that the Browns fans just aren't used to. There were rumblings at the back end of last season because it was a pretty poor season. It certainly hadn't lived up to the expectations. That there were Browns fans talking about Stefanski's got to be replaced, and I was sitting there shaking my head in disbelief with some of the stuff that I read. It's like, this guy was the NFL Coach of the Year in his rookie season. He's just won you the first playoff game in forever. And here you are 12 months later running the guy out of town. It's just absolutely bonkers. But yeah, like I said, that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately, isn't it? People want instant success, and actually that sustained success is built up over that period of consistency. Getting the guys in, how many times we change coaches who want a different quarterback, they want to run a different offensive skill system, they want to run a 4-3 instead of a 3-4 defense, and your roster building goes back 2 or 3 years, and before you know it, you cycle through it all again. And like I say, all the other teams in the division are just he's continuing to pull away from you. So I think they've nailed it with Stefanski. I really do, the way he carries himself and everything. Well, we'll wait and see. It's obviously a results-driven business, but certainly the way he conducts himself, I'm pretty confident that he should, in theory, be the Browns coach for a long, long time.
He should. Now, Crown Apple Kid here has a very, very serious question to ask you. Do you claim to know Kieran? That's all we want to know. Do you actually claim to know that guy?
I do claim to know, yeah, through association more than anything else. Kieran's a legend. He's a feisty little boy, but yeah, he's good fun, Kieran. Good fun.
Exactly. Now, before the show started, we were just kind of talking about what we're going to talk about and everything, and I just, for some reason, I was talking about vacation. That's what it was. How I was dominating in cornhole until my son started playing, and my son unfortunately beat me in every single game, and he was undefeated. Anyway, I said, Shaun, you ever played cornhole? You ever heard of it? You're like, oh yeah, I played it, and you're like talking about this bar or whatever that Browns fans all get together in this village and everything. And I'll let you guys finish the story there.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a strange old story, really, because cornhole is something that I experienced when the Browns came over to England. Well, 2017, I think it was. Now they played at Twickenham, and one of the things that became apparent through all of that with social media and everything was that the Browns have a couple of internationally recognised official member clubs of the Cleveland Browns. And when we were trying to arrange fan meetups and get-togethers, like I said, these two clubs started sort of interacting. And what we agreed to do was we then agreed to have a once a season meetup. And this little club, you wouldn't. It's so hard to sort of try and explain the size of it because the US is so big.
I can share the picture.
You can share the picture by all means. The US is so big compared to the UK, but this little village is essentially about 3 square miles. There is absolutely nothing in this village apart from one pub, and by the looks of that picture, everyone in the village supports the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
And it's a phenomenal little group. They hire out this pub, and everybody comes out on a Sunday night to watch the games. And because there was these two clubs connecting, they actually hired out the village hall, and we were playing cornhole before Browns game. I think we were playing I want to say it was a game against the Chiefs that we were watching on the telly that evening. But yeah, that was my only ever experience of cornhole, and I've got to say, your son would probably kick my ass, to be fair, mate, because cornhole certainly wasn't my strong point. But yeah, it was a great day. You can probably just about see me on the right hand side of that picture with a dog bone on my head. That's me. So yeah, there I am. Just
you were dressed to the nines that day. You're ready to go out.
Indeed. But yeah, it's amazing, really, because I remember when I started watching the NFL, I was so naive. You think, you're the only person in the country that sort of follows this weird, bizarre sport from across the pond, and you're up in the middle of the night watching it, and why am I doing this to myself? And then all of a sudden you realise that actually there's millions of us in the UK, and like I say, to have such a passionate group of fans, that was a really great night. It was a great weekend. It's a highlight that we look forward to every year, getting all the fans together.
It looked like a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. Now, I know Crip asked in the chat earlier here if you were a Browns fan from here it is. If you're a Browns fan from when Bernie Kosar was their quarterback, but I don't think you were a football fan back then. That's back in the 80s.
It's been 14 years now I've followed the Browns. So yeah, 14 years I've followed them. I followed the league for a little bit longer than that, but generally just used to watch it casually as a fan, and then decided to sort of root for a team. So it started to mean more, as you do. So yeah, 14 years I've plumped for the Cleveland Browns. They always say that the Brits love an underdog, so I thought I'll go with an unfashionable team. And as we were saying earlier, it's a league built on parity. If they're rubbish now, it'll soon turn around, and I'll have plenty to look forward to. 14 years later, I've had one playoff win. So yeah,
you're still waiting for that. Trust me, I feel your pain. I've been a Bengals fan my whole life, and I went through the whole decade of the 90s, and that was rough because we didn't win crap. We didn't go to the playoffs. We didn't win nothing. It was extremely difficult. So you became a football fan, and how did you guys? How long you guys been doing the full 10 yards? I know you got a draft guide coming out here, but when did the full 10 yards start?
Yeah, full 10 yards about 4 years ago now. So yeah, that was just a group of us friends, just similar to what you're doing now. Just got on the microphones. We just started having a chat with each other. We thought, you know what, we'll start recording this and we'll put it out on air, and yeah, that's kind of grown arms and legs. So yeah, really proud of the work that we do there. We actively put the small amount of money that we generate back into the game in the UK. Really proud to say that we've recently sponsored disability football in the UK. We actually provided a lot of equipment for the disabled game, which is much needed funds, because it's not a huge sport over here. If it was soccer, as you guys call it, it gets funded massively at the grassroots level. But when it comes to American football, it just doesn't get the same sort of funding or recognition. So we were really, really proud and really, really pleased to be able to put some support there, so people that haven't got the same privileges as everyone else, are still able to go and enjoy the sport that they love. So yeah, we've sponsored that this year. The actual UK sort of American football scene kicked off this weekend with the first round of games actually in Britball, as it's known over here. So yeah, that's up and running. So we're, like I say, really proud to sponsor that. So yeah, really proud of the work the guys do. It's just a really good bunch of guys. There's loads of us. I couldn't even count how many there are of us now. With a full 10 yards and then some now, mate. That's what I would say.
There you go. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. Like Shaun said, that's awesome stuff there. That's really cool. Now, you guys, I know Kieran's been telling me nonstop about the draft guide that you guys got coming out, and I've been telling everybody it's coming out sometime soon. When do you think? How close are you guys getting to publishing this thing?
Should be out this week. I am reliably informed by the man in the know. I did say I was coming on your show tonight, and I knew it would be a question that you would pose. So yeah, it should be out. Should be out this week. We'll obviously tweet all the details of how you can get your hands on a copy and everything. So yeah, we'll be sharing that with everyone. The guys have put so much effort in, as they always do, to watching film. And look, I know there's plenty of guys out there that do this in a professional capacity and all the rest of it. But trust me when I say, the guys last year put together a phenomenal guide. I can look back at it now with pride. There's so many players that they called out that were under the radar that have come to fruition. And yeah, like I say, it's a team effort, and fair play to all the guys that have put all the effort and the hard work in. So looking forward to seeing it myself, mate. Should be out this week.
That's awesome. Now, is it going to be a paper book, or is it going to be a ebook or whatever where you email it to people?
I believe it's ebook.
Okay.
I believe that's the route that we are going. But yeah, like I say, all the details will be confirmed. So once we've sort of finalised that, we'll share all the details. And obviously, the beauty of it being an ebook, if it is an ebook, is you'll be able to get it straight away, not have to wait for postage and packaging and all of that kind of good stuff. So yeah, we'll share the details as soon as we can.
Yeah, you don't have to wait 3 months for like I had to wait for my Super Bowl jersey here, my Ed McPherson. I ordered this the week of the Super Bowl, and it just showed up this week. So, as my dog is announcing the presence of my wife coming home, so that's my dog going off. But yeah, that's good. So if you guys are interested in it, where can they find this at, and how do they go about getting it?
Yeah, so it'll be full10yards.com. If you're not following us on Twitter, it's at full10yards on there. We'll tweet out all of the details as and when it does get released. But yeah, like I said, the website, I'm sure it will be front and center. We'll splash it all out over there, so you won't be able to miss it. And yeah, like I said, it'd be really appreciated. Like I said, any of the profit that we make from it, it'll all be invested back into the sport that we all love as well, which is, like I said, what we're really proud of. So it's well worth investing, and it will definitely, I would suggest, be cheaper than some of the professionals out there. Let's put it that way.
You guys are professional. Come on, you guys are professionals from Boston. That's all I was telling.
We like to at least think we know what we're talking about at times.
Exactly. Well, that's one thing I keep telling people. Are like, yeah, they sound funny to us, but they know what they're talking about. They talk football. It's football. I mean, trust me, if you know football and you listen to somebody talking about, you know if they know what they're talking about or not, and you guys know what you're talking about. So I will definitely give you guys props for that, and I give you props for staying up and watching the games because, well, I would, but I grew up on football, so it's in my blood, man. We love football over here.
Let's be clear: Thursday night football is a killer. Thursday night football is just that is rough. Thursday night is rough, and it's usually a terrible game as well. Thursday night, isn't it? So yeah, exactly. Thursday night football's pretty rough. The rest of them aren't too bad, but Thursday nights.
Well, speaking of Thursday night football, I got a feeling that the Browns Bengals game is going to be on Thursday night football. I don't know why. I can see that because I was honestly, Shaun, I was surprised that they didn't flex any of the Bengals Browns games to Sunday. I know the last one it was kind of year ending, so I guess that kind of where it fell on that. But beginning of the year, that would have been a good one to put out there, but they never did. And I was surprised how many times the Bengals were on primetime once. I got a feeling it's going to change this year. I think we're going to be on maybe 4 times at least. Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. So at least 3 of those. I think we're going to hit all of them. But I wouldn't be surprised if Bengals Browns, the Boo as we call it, the Battle of Ohio is on Thursday night football this year.
Yeah, it stands every chance, doesn't it? It's I think it's been played on a Thursday a couple of times. Normally early part of the season. Yeah, I mean, look, it's you don't mind these prime times. Speaking from the UK perspective, it helps if it's a rivalry game. It helps if it's one that you don't have to, sort of get yourself up for psychologically. It's an easier sell than Browns against the Jags or Browns against the Seahawks or something like that. Do you know what I mean? If it's a game that means something, and I think in this division, all of the divisional games will mean something because it will come down to that divisional record. I'm pretty convinced of that. It'll be who's got the best record within the divisional play will no doubt end up on top. So yeah, it'll be a good one if they do get it on the box.
Yeah, Haas said in the comments here, he said Bengals Browns for Thanksgiving, maybe. I hope, just for me, I hope it's the Bengals and the Buccaneers because my sister-in-law, because my wife is from Florida. So I'm already going down to Florida for Thanksgiving. And I already told my sister-in-law she's got season tickets for the Buccaneers. I told her 2 years ago when I was down there that I knew the Bengals were playing the Buccaneers that I was going to go. I invited myself, and she's really nice to let me invite myself. So I'm hoping it's over Thanksgiving because that'd be perfect for me. I'm already going to be down there. I don't have to make an extra trip, but that would be good. And I can't wait till the schedule comes out. We got another month still till that comes out. I'm like, oh my goodness, I want to find out where we're going, what we're doing.
Yeah, that'll be good. I mean, Thanksgiving's even better this year, isn't it? Because we've obviously got the Soccer World Cup, England versus the States, the day after as well. So, excellent couple of days of sport.
There you go. Yep. Rob's calling it out here. He said the Bengals are going 15-2.
Ooh.
Wow. So, well, I got a question. I'm not asking for a prediction, but just realistically, I guess with the not knowing of Deshaun Watson, how many games he's going to play, and like you said, I think you guys still need to add a wide receiver or two because you really only have one, and you have the tight end. So those are two of your best receivers. What is your realistic expectations for the Browns? And I expect you guys to compete. Don't get me wrong. I'm expecting that. But are you expecting them to go win the division, wild card, or just improve, or where are you at on them?
I think realistically, if you look back at where we were a year ago, I think the expectation would be to get back to the playoffs. I think the roster is still pretty good overall. I think the defense is pretty good. I'd like them to get Jadeveon Clowney re-signed. I think that would be huge. I thought he was an excellent complement to Myles Garrett on that defensive line. And probably not enough being said about the lack of depth that we've got there at the moment without Clowney. So I'd like to see that one come to fruition. I think Amari Cooper will be an excellent signing. I think the price that we picked him up for as well, when you look at what's happened since,
right,
has been a real bargain, and the contract as well. So I'm really pleased with that. I think that will still potentially add a couple of free agents as well. I think everyone's sort of in this holding pattern now to the draft. I think the Browns would like potentially a receiver or an edge in that second round. It depends on whether one of the big guys drops. I know Treylon Burks is one that he's talked about dropping because of sort of his testing stats and everything at the combine, but he's a player that was certainly talked about as potentially the Browns picking the first round when they had the first round pick. So if he did fall all the way down into the 40s, which will be a surprise, but then this time 12 months ago, it was a massive surprise when JOK fell into the 40s.
Right.
So you never know what's going to happen on draft night. Sanders is the one that I think a lot of talk about for the edge position. So I think he'll be edge or wide receiver heavy in the draft. And then we'll reassess the roster from there. Like I say, if you imagine that Deshaun Watson instantly probably gives you an extra 3 or 4 games compared to what Baker was able to give you, you take on board the fact that, like I said, the Browns had their share of injuries last year. And look, every team has injuries, so I'm not using that as an excuse, but these things tend to go in cycles, as we said earlier.
Right.
The Browns probably won't have as many injuries to key players next year, just by process of elimination. I'd like to think that, like you said, there would be in and around that sort of 11-6, 12-5 kind of mark. And if you get to that kind of mark, I would imagine that you're certainly going to be good for a wild card, potentially a division. Depends on how competitive the North is. And like I say, I think those divisional games will be absolutely key. They really will be absolutely key. And it's interesting, really. Rob's put you down there as being 15-2, so I'm assuming that he thinks the Browns are going to beat you twice. Obviously, that's.
And those are the 2 losses against the Browns. Now, my thought process here with the Bengals here is we had such a good year last year, and our offense was way better than people thought it was going to be. Our defense was way better than people thought it would be, and we had the big gaping hole of the offensive line, and we have fixed it. I mean, with Collins and Cap and Ted Karras, and who knows, maybe Linenbaum if he actually falls to us, that would be awesome. If not, we got Jackson Carman or Deontay Smith that could play a guard. I think our offensive line is fixed, and it's went from one of the worst offensive lines in football into a top 10 offensive line. Now, to me, if the Bengals stay healthy, I don't see, and I'm not trying to throw rocks or anything, but we should win the division. That's where I'm at. I mean, if we did it last year, and we did it with a terrible offensive line, and we've brought basically everybody back except CJ Uzama, and our offensive line is better. As long as we stay healthy, I think this division is ours, and everybody's going to have to try to take it from us. And 15-2, that's a bit much. I don't know if we're going to be there yet. I'm not ready to make any predictions yet because I want to see what the schedule is actually like first. But that's where I'm at. And yes, it's a tough division, and the AFC is tough, but it doesn't scare me. I really think what the Bengals did last year, it's just in the playoffs alone, going to Kansas City and winning, going to Tennessee and winning, doing that with, I mean, Zach Taylor had plays options he couldn't even use because of the offensive line. He couldn't do them. We didn't have any 5-step drops. You couldn't do that. They didn't have time to do it. These are things that he can actually do this year. So it can open up a ton of stuff for the Bengals on the offense. And Joe Mixon, This is one thing. I am so excited to see Joe Mixon actually run behind a legit offensive line. And I don't think it's going to be he's going to have a ton of carries. I think it's going to be more quality of carries instead of quantity. I think because he's going to be able to make his cuts beyond the offensive line, which is something that he hasn't been able to do very much here. So that's where, like I said, I'm here to, I guess, toot my own horn, but I think the division runs through Cincinnati right now until somebody knocks us off.
Yeah, and I think you've got every right to feel that way. I think I felt exactly the same about the Browns 12 months ago. We didn't win the division, but obviously we beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs, which I think by default means that you should win the division, but that's a different story. There you go. And I felt exactly the same. We'd improved the roster, etc., etc. So I think, that was enough for me to be convinced going into last year. Look, you've got every right to be confident. And I think the betting lines would suggest that he's going to be a very tight three-way tussle. I know Rob's probably saying it in jest. I don't think anybody sort of thinks that anyone's going to run away with this division at 15-2. I just think it's too competitive.
Right.
I think the division winner is going to be 12-5, 13-4, probably the absolute best. And there's every chance that the Bengals will be certainly the ones to beat. Look, they'll have the pressure. It'll be interesting to see how they respond to it. I think last year you obviously didn't have necessarily the expectations. Dealing with those expectations is often the difficult thing, isn't it? Now that you've been there and you've done it, people will be looking to knock you off your perch. And obviously the one thing that really works in everybody else's favour in the division, and particularly Baltimore, is because they finished in that fourth place position, their games, if you like, against the ununique opponents are so much easier on paper than anybody else, aren't they? What did they end up with? They ended up with, was it the Jags instead of, you guys have got to play the Titans and all of that, and all of that kind of thing. There's 3 or 4 games there that on paper look like just gimmies to the Ravens, don't they?
Right.
So that's something to bear in mind as well. But look, it'll be fascinating. There's plenty of twists and turns to happen between now and kickoff, because like I said, the draft obviously always plays its part, and like I said, the second wave of free agency will tell us a lot as well. But yeah, certainly, I think you're right to have confidence with where the Bengals are. I certainly think La'el Collins is a great pickup. I've got to be honest, I'm not as convinced on the other two, but that's, I think everybody would say the same thing in terms of La'el Collins is the standout of those 3.
Absolutely.
But as you said, Joey Burrow got sacked, what was it, 7,000 times last year, and he still made the Super Bowl. So
right.
Yeah,
exactly. Now this is a good question here for Tom Brooks here. He says this is a statement, and then he asks a question. Shaun has yet to win a high pressure game except for Clemson, and he said I think he may have trouble when games get close. Which everybody remembers his last playoff game was against the Chiefs when the Texans collapsed, and the Chiefs came back and beat him. So that is kind of a point that he's going to have to. A hump he's going to have to get over, moving forward.
Oh yeah, listen, most definitely, there's no doubt about that. I think as you mentioned there, that game that the Texans collapsed. I mean, it was essentially the defense just disappeared, didn't it? I think was it like 6 drives, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, so look, any quarterback needs help from the defensive side of the ball as well. Most weeks, if you put up 28 points on the Kansas City Chiefs in a half of football, you would expect more often than not that you're coming out on the winning side. Now, that doesn't change history. It absolutely is a valid point. And like you say, with any quarterback, until they get over that hump, the question mark will always remain. But the last time he played in the NFL, he ended up as the passing leader on the season with a team that finished, what was it, 3-13 or 4-12? It was a 16-game season then, wasn't it? He finished the league lead in passing. Now, I appreciate that's not a big game situation. I get that. But I think what I'm saying is Deshaun's got all of the tools that are there that he needs to be able to produce it. And I would suggest that if the Browns do end up in the playoffs in 12 months' time or 9 months' time, however long away we are now, he's going to have a much more complete roster than what he had at Houston, because I think the Browns are balanced in terms of both sides of the ball have got the potential to be good units.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Shaun, you give me almost an hour. I appreciate you coming on. Again, plug the Full 10 Yards podcast and your draft guide before I let you get out of here.
Yeah, pleasure as always, mate. Absolute pleasure. So, yeah, full10yards.com is the website, at full10yards on Twitter. As we discussed earlier, the draft guide will hopefully, or should be, released this week. We'll get you all of the details, and you'd encourage everybody to download your copies, and please leave us some reviews and ratings and all that kind of stuff. Share it with your friends. And like I said earlier, anything that we do, all of the profits that we make all go into the game in the UK. So really, really pleased and proud of what we do week in and week out. So appreciate you having me on, man. I'm sure we'll talk again in the off season. Pleasure as always, buddy.
Absolutely, Shaun. Thanks for coming on, man. Take it easy.
Cheers, bud.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I gotta get to Haas's comment here, and I did see it. Colin's new tattoo. It's awesome. It is freaking awesome. It's on his calf. It's a Bengals. I think it's a Bengals head or Bengals eye, and then it kind of goes down his leg to Bengal stripes and everything. It's freaking cool looking. But that is very, very cool that he's already got a Bengals tattoo on his leg. So that was unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe the first thing he did without even getting on the teams, he goes and gets a tattoo. So that was very, very cool. All right, so let's get to the Facebook groups that let me live stream. As always, I appreciate every single one of you guys there. Who Dey Nation, Who Dey Legion, Bearcat Country, Bearcat Ruckus, the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar, and Cincinnati Reds, riding third, heading for home. And then you can always follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trunapole. TikTok is at Iceman90. Please make sure you follow all this. I've been doing a lot of cool TikToks and stuff like that. And Hunter Green, Crown is still out there. Hunter Green was the man. And Crown commented on something on the Ice Bar. And he said, I told you Hunter Green was going to be good. I never said he wasn't going to be good, Crown. I just said he wasn't ready last year. So that's all I was saying, man. I thought he's ready this year. I can't wait to see Nick Lodolo too. So anyway, so if you missed any of the show tonight and you don't have time to watch it on the YouTube, go check it out on the podcast. It's on Beanpod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Give me a 5-star review. Leave a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. YouTubers, like I said, unbelievable weekend. I've jumped so much in the last couple weeks. It is awesome. I'm at 1,564 subscribers. That is awesome. I appreciate you guys. Like, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everybody about Sports with Strawberry Ice. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 2,000 as fast as I can. Hopefully before the football season starts. Hopefully by the time the football season starts. Hell, hopefully before then. Who knows? It's growing like crazy right now. So please, I enjoy doing all these videos. I'm glad you guys like them. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Give me the thumbs up on the channel. Give me the thumbs up on the videos. Comment on the post I'm putting on the YouTube channel. Everything that I'm doing, you guys can comment on. If you don't like what I say, that's fine. We can discuss it. Sometimes I can't get back to everybody. I apologize for that. But I do read all of them, and I appreciate all of your comments and everything you guys do. And I appreciate you guys watching the channel and support me in what I've been doing over the last 3 years now, guys. I've been doing this for 3 years. Unbelievable. Time flies when you're having fun. But tomorrow is opening day for the Cincinnati Reds. So I don't have a guest on. So what I'm thinking about doing, I've seen other YouTubers do this, and I want to watch the game anyway. So what I'm kind of thinking about doing is I'll have the game. I'm not going to have the game on here. I'll have it on the TV over there so I can watch it. And we can have live baseball chats, about the game, about what's going on. We can discuss it, and I'll try maybe do a little play-by-play or something. And I'm not going to say I'm going to do the whole game, but I might do the first inning or 2 or 3 or whatever. So the show will probably be on a little earlier tomorrow. Probably going to come on about the time first pitches, which is about 4:05. So if you guys are interested, check it out tomorrow. That'll be something interesting to do. Like I said, I've seen other guys do it. We'll check it out. See how it works out. Anyway, other than that, that's just sports, baby. See ya!
Let's go. Stripes, stripes, stripes. night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. Who day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Wake up the beast, every day is a feast. Time to bust it off the leash. In the jungle dripping heat, tigers stripe the city streets. East side stand up, west side stand up. If you reppin' who day, time to put your hands up. Dingle stripes, we in it. New day, new age. Yeah, we get it. Cincinnati jungle fitted. Who they in our house, we win it. Orange and black and white, we build it. Earn our stripes, you know we kill it. Bleed our colors, jungle dripping. Nasty, natty, yeah, we lit it. Lit the crowd, get the city loud. Yeah, we feasting now. Fit the pounce, make the city howl. Now we beastin' now. Thunder through the tunnel, from the sideline to the huddle. Stripes we tatted on the jungle when we flex that who they muscle on them. Stripes, Cincinnati, we gon' rise and in the jungle we unite and dripping orange and black and white. All day when we fight, live and die in these stripes. Now who gotta move like it on? Now who wanna move dancing on? Now who wanna move on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange upon 'em, bingo bottle, never stop it till the beast and know 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossin' on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen.